Check, check. Is that better? Sorry, there's an update. I just got my Stream Deck last week and got it set up, and there was actually a software update today for it. So that might have been the situation there. I just double checked the controls and everything in Streamlabs. Well, thanks for noticing. That's pretty crazy. We're going to have a half hour of the video on demand with out hearing my voice. Maybe some of you that play D&D with me might be thankful for that. I don't know. I do tend to talk a lot while we're playing anyway. And again, just kind of boxing out the fact that hut is there in the middle of all this. We're just going to go ahead and get that first, and we'll do a couple of the pieces that we've missed so far. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. Yeah, I was all like, "Oh my goodness, it's so! I'm so glad I got in a little early today. That way I can take care of this update for the Steam Deck." I was like, "Oh shoot." All right, so now the whole hut, even though the interior itself is already set up with a dynamic lighting, now we've also kind of hidden it from the outside as well. Make sure to go ahead and close that off for the PCs so they don't see to the other side of that hinge, and then we can go ahead and do a little bit with this one. And as I mentioned earlier, which you couldn't hear, there are having double lines here and there. Like if the PCs can't see through it, it's not going to matter. Like there's a double line here, there's a double line there. If you do them in smaller sections, you can always remove a portion of it if you need to. Oh, yes, since you haven't been able to. Last couple of weeks, normally Tuesday evenings is called Dungeons and Deliberations. It still is, and it's kind of set up for like just chatting to allow viewers to ask me questions about D&D. But since this is only starting our 4th week of streaming, the past few weeks I've been doing little Roll20 tutorials for everyone that happens to step in to watch the stream. The first week we talked about how to create a room, how to create characters, how to create NPCs, how to create handouts, how to put in PDFs. Went over all the different controls, all of your different controls up here, all of your different controls on the left-hand side. We talked about last week we talked about putting in maps and how to resize maps and such. And then this week I've been talking about dynamic lighting, not realizing for the last half hour my audio was not working with my microphone. All right. So yeah, basically what I've done is I've taken let's go back over here to the objects and tokens layer. Basically I've taken a map from one of my adventures and I put it into this Roll20 room, and then I've been testing it and putting in dynamic lighting on the page so that to show DMs how it's a little bit easier to set up dynamic lighting and not have to have a fog of war and then just reveal everything as you go. As I mentioned earlier, which you probably didn't hear, it does take a little bit of time to set up the dynamic lighting on maps, but it does save time in the long run, helping you not to have to reveal everything from a fog of war, because that does slow down the game. And this setting up your fog of war ahead of time will give your players a little bit more enjoyment, because they're not going to be spending most of their time while you're clearing out areas of the map for them to be able to see. All right, so let's double check on this side of the map over here. That looks all good over there. We just got a couple of spots over here in this top corner. That's good there. We should have this come out a little bit there too. Then we want to close off this other top part. Let's do a little freehand for now with the polygon line reveal. Again, we'll do a little box down here like we did over the other side. That way, only certain areas of the map are visible. So now, since everything's got a dynamic lighting barriers on them, we should be able to go back to the objects and tokens, select, and then hit Control L to see what snaps can see. We can go back up here to our page settings and turn back on our dynamic lighting, turn back our Explorer mode. And then now what we can do is with Control L, we can see what Snaps sees on the screen. As I mentioned earlier, this is stuff's on the GM layer. The Snaps would not be able to normally see that, but since we're looking through them, we can still see a GM layer. This yellow box is generally when I create a map or set a map up for the players. I'll generally have just a box on there on the object token layer for where I want the characters to enter into the map so they can pull their tokens over, or it's also a reminder of where I can copy and paste their tokens if need be. So as we move Snaps around the board, it does start to reveal areas that he can see. And see, now, this is also good for us to test because we do want that to come out a little bit more because we don't want them to be able to see all the way around the edge of the hedge maze there. So we can quickly jump back over to the dynamic lighting, go to the polygon reveal, snap that there, and put it out to there. It's also a good way for us to be able to test what they can and can't see. So this is grayed off a little bit so they can still see through there a little bit, but that's okay. They would just see this bush back over here, so that's not too bad. Moving up here, they can see, oh, there's an entrance coming down this way. There's another area over there. As they move through the map, and again, this is the Explore mode. As I mentioned before, it does show them what they could see previously, but doesn't show them what's in there. So as I mentioned, and you might not have heard, like if you have reinforcements come back in where they've left an area of the map, they still kind of have an idea, the PCs have an idea of what the area looks like, but they can't see what's actually there anymore. So you can add reinforcements, things like that. If they're going through like a dungeon and they're killing kobolds off and they decided they need to take a rest. If they take a short rest or a long rest, you can repopulate certain areas of the dungeon again if you need to, and they won't be able to see it. So this area, so see, we'll need to come out a little bit over here, off of that, and then maybe come down off of this a little bit. So that shuts off as we can see, because it does have Explorer mode on. So that's what Snaps could see before, and then when we just added that one little bit of dynamic lighting to each one of these sections, it kind of shut it off to where, from this vantage, you could see that there's a little, opening here and a little bit of opening there, but it does tighten the vision up to where he's not able to see those areas anymore. Of course, moving forward, then you can notice all those connect together. Coming around, checking the dynamic lighting again. All right, so we do have a small chink in the break here, so we're going to have to fix this little bit here, because as they move up here, they should not be able to see through this area. So again, just double check. That's one of the reasons why we take the character around the board. And close that off. All right, now we've got that closed off, so that we know that when the players bring their characters onto it, onto the map, you'll be able to know what they're going to see and be able to make sure to set it up properly for them. So let's continue moving him around. We still have all that set up. He can see up there. He would not be able to see there normally, which is fine. Getting up there, he can see that there's a way going over that way. And that's all right. That doesn't look too bad. Coming up over here, more vision. Coming back around, shuts that off really, really nice. Excellent. Oh, I like the way that opens up. That's really good. Yes, it was intentionally Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Every section of this adventure it's all named after Iron Maiden songs. Of course, the door is locked. If you decide instead, and by the way, the characters and you can interact from the locked door actually on the objects and tokens layer. You place it onto the dynamic lighting layer, but what you can do is you can click on it and unlock it, and the players can just click on it and open the door. So opening the door, you'll see, allows the character to see inside. Inside the building itself as they come around to the door, knowing there's something there. Now again, we put the separator down here, as this is actually a tunnel that leads down into this middle area here. And of course, when they go inside, they can see the rest of the room. Now, if you want, we could always go to the dynamic lighting area layer and place some lights. So say we have the fireplace right here. We want to have some light emitting from that fireplace. We can put a light there. We want to say we'll have a light down here in the tunnel leading down into the cellar. We can put that there, and then we come back over to our objects and tokens, clicking on snaps. Oops, we don't want that there. And now it's a little bit brighter in those little areas from putting the light source in there. So that's basics of dynamic lighting. There's a few different things you can do to, if you wanted to, in these certain areas, instead of putting like single lines, like if we wanted to, we could go through on the polygon lines for the wider areas here. We can always come up and connect them that way. That way there's less vision for them to see around if you wanted to place it that way if you wanted. It looks like something over here was not connected properly. So like over here, we could also take this up. To make that less for the thicker areas, more boxed off for the players. Like for example, that one we could probably box off as well. That way it helps restrict the lighting a little bit more. But that's the basics of dynamic lighting. And I will touch on it again next week. I guess you should be able to at least get the gist of what I'm talking about, even though the audio was not working for the first half hour. Next time I'll know to make sure to check my Streamlabs and my Stream Deck a little bit more than a half hour ahead of time when I need to, in case I need to do any updates or anything. But hey, it's live stream. What can you do? Technical difficulties happen. But yeah, that's going to bring us to the end of the discussion about dynamic lighting. Again, thanks for dropping by. I do have a game tonight that I have to do a little bit of prep for, so we're going to cut things a little bit short today. Don't forget, we do have a stream tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about, I'm not sure who's going to join me. I might have a co-host with me tomorrow night for our Tavern Talks. But the topic is going to be how to avoid yourself as a DM and how to encourage your players to not be toxic as they play. And I know it might sound odd, but a lot of players and a lot of DMs kind of perpetuate the toxicity without knowing that they do it. And we're going to kind of talk about that, mostly because of just a topic that I thought of, because I've been playing a lot of video games where there's a lot of multiplayers playing online. There's a very toxic atmosphere in there, and from that I was able to associate with some toxic behaviors that I have as a DM sometimes that I was not aware of at the time, and some of the actions and the way players play that can be, although it might not on the surface seem toxic, but it is kind of toxic and it does weigh the game down. And again, most of these things are, to be honest, things that most DMs and players do. And we haven't thought about that being that type of situation, because it's not like toxic of doing something, to someone directly or anything like that. It's like some of the other games, but it is a little bit. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow for Tavern Talks. And then, of course, Thursday and Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we do have our dungeon delving on Thursday, and then around the campfire on Friday. Join us for those if you would. And then, of course, we'll be back on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, for part 2 of the Stygian Gambit. And then the following week, we will start the next adventure with 2 guest players that are from our community server. We did post our player application on our community server and on my private server for the players that are still on my private server that haven't had a chance to get over to the community server. But if you want to join and check out those games, we did post the second part. So we should have both the parts of the first adventure up on our YouTube channel now. You can find all of our social media links down below. If you click the About button, you'll see all of our links there on Linktree. You can join our community Discord just by clicking on the Discord panel there in the About section. But hopefully it'll show up, and we thank everyone for all the support we've received so far. Again, my apologies. I wish I would have known earlier that the audio was not working. So, but at least you should be able to get an idea and the gist of what I was doing from everywhere I was going on the Roll20 screen. But yeah, thanks everyone for checking us out tonight, and we will talk to everyone soon, and we'll see you next time. Happy adventuring.